This is Richard Kusiolek with GMCstream Television, and today we have really a great opportunity in meeting a gentleman by the name of Dave Bruner, who's Vice President of Panasonic Avionics Corporation. And he's been kind enough to spend a little bit of time with us. So we're going to ask a few questions, but maybe he can introduce himself a little bit. Say a little bit about yourself if you wish.
My responsibility at Panasonic is to launch the aeronautical communications business for them, and that it involves broadband service and now a live television network, and even the ability to utilize your mobile phone on board the plane. So this has been a new advent for us. We've primarily been, for 38 years, the leader in in-flight entertainment, supplying those types of systems to airlines. And communications and broadband communications was another way for us to enhance the value of our systems that we supply to the airlines, help them get more out of those assets. And it's a very nice complementary business for us to do, and I have the honor of being able to lead that group.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm going to get right into the questions because I'm pretty excited. And let's start with the first question. Can you briefly tell us about Panasonic Avionics? I mean, briefly, it's quite a company, but it's a difficult task for you, I'm sure.
It is.
Brief sense.
As I said, we've 38 years in the business, all under the same ownership, which is kind of rare in our particular marketplace. It's also kind of one of the things that has helped us be very successful in the marketplace. Airlines like to know they can trust their supplier. These systems stay on airplanes for a long time. And the fact that we've been in the business so long, they know we're going to be here tomorrow, we're going to be here 10 years from now to take care of them. And so it's when you do that, then you're able to supply more systems. You're able to work with the Boeing and an Airbus and Bombardier and Embraer. So we can then expand that to provide even more systems like lighting and like passenger address systems on board, those that control the reading lights and things like that. So we've been able to expand our product line because we had such good relationship with our airline customers and with the aircraft OEMs.
Okay, excellent. That's a very good, I think, synopsis of the company. What has been your experience with in-flight, the environment of avionics for the aircraft operational environment? What has that been like?
Operational communications, you know, it's really it's a field that's just now starting to take off in terms of airlines being able to utilize this brand new broadband capability. It's low cost. They've been wanting this for 25 years. I used to work for an airline. It was my job to make this happen. It only took me 25 years to do it. But it's now here, and they are trying to figure out how do we take advantage of this, because it's a great capability, but it's actually a lot of different constituencies within the airlines that I need it for this, and another one needs it for this. And you've got an engine that wants to actually send its data to the ground, and you've got flight monitoring systems that you want to send information to the ground, or you want to send weather information to the aircraft. So it's really a lot of different uses of the same communication network. And so you've got to find ways that it can get too complex, it can get overwhelming. And so we've looked for ways and had some success recently in how do we make this more simple so the people understand how this works, and then the computers that are all on board this aircraft, they all can find this very simple to connect to maybe one central box that then connects to our network to send that data on and off the aircraft. So there had to be a little bit of architecture design here to how do we make it simpler? Because you've got a lot of different users, a lot of different little computers on board that plane, all wanting to communicate. There had to be kind of a traffic cop to put all this together, make it easy to do.
Okay, excellent. I'm just going to stop just for a second. Don't worry, we have a production studio, so I'm going to cut this only because I want to check on something. That's important here. So I'm going to make sure we're getting you. Okay. One of the things I just want to mention, I want you to look at the camera.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at you.
Forget about me. You're the person. Okay. So don't worry about it. Actually, I might move a little bit so that we have a little bit more focus on you. Yeah, not me. Ooh. Okay. Okay. So don't worry. We're starting. It's kind of like take two. Okay. Excellent. Okay, we're going to kind of go along with the questions, and I was very curious. What are some of the special challenges and features of the in-flight operational environment?
So I think one of the key challenges in our particular domain, providing this type of communications to aircraft, is they fly everywhere in the world. They fly over every country in the world. So initially we thought our big challenge was we have to get satellite coverage over all of the Earth, everywhere an airplane flies. But then we realized you actually have to have authority from that country to utilize the communication system over their country. So while you got a whole group of people who are tackling the technical difficulty of making all this technology work and sending, very, very high bandwidth back and forth to the aircraft that are all over the world, you also have the political challenge of getting the approval from all these countries across the world to do this. So it took us about 3 years just to accomplish the regulatory approval all across the world. Even a couple of countries, one of them just came online last year, was China, where we finally received approval to start to have foreign aircraft fly over China and communicate, and Chinese aircraft to operate when they're outside of China.
Right.
It was a very, very big accomplishment. And that was our last country in the world to be able to complete the total, every 212 countries around the world and even more territories. So you got technical difficulty, you've got this regulatory challenge, you got to be able to put all of it together to be able to operate these systems on board aircraft.
Well, I'm going to take advantage of what you just said, if you don't mind, just off of the outline. So, of course, as you know, the Chinese are building their own commercial aircraft. So are you kind of looking at that as a possibility to provide all of the in-flight and some of the things you're talking about in a sense of a sensor, control management type of environment?
Yes, we're one of the suppliers on that program, and it's really you've got probably the highest growth in new aircraft coming into that market, the Chinese market, over the next 20 years. And so Airbus, Boeing, Airbus manufactured in China,
right,
and the new Chinese aircraft manufacturer, we need to be working with everyone to make sure that our systems are on board there. But it does open up some new opportunities, new partnerships, new alliances and relationships in order to build a version that's going to be of our systems that's really attractive to the Chinese airline operator. And there's been a lot of work on that the last 5 years, and we're just now starting to see a lot of the success. We've had a very high number of orders coming from the Chinese carriers. Really good indication that we've been successful in hearing what they would like and then being able to work with their partners and their aircraft OEMs to deliver those new services.
I had to tell you, that's really quite an accomplishment. I spent 4 years in China, so I know about the regulatory. So you're doing a great job. As a matter of fact, that's really a big news item you just provided for us, and appreciate that. Okay, let me talk a little bit about working with Boeing Defense. I'm going to kind of jump into that question. Both the Boeing Defense, Space, and Security to provide Panasonic secure satellite-based in-flight broadband service known as X-Connect. And under a new agreement, Boeing will offer this service of yours to the U.S. government, not only within the United States, but also outside the United States. I thought that was a really exciting point. So I thought I would ask you, where is that today in 2016? Because I know you started that a couple years ago.
It's still moving along. I think that as the different procurements come up, and I think there's been a little slowdown in a lot of this particular area for procurement from the U.S. government, particularly as it relates to the particular types of implementations that where Boeing has a unique advantage in these secure, and there's multiple different types of these secure networks. Boeing was a great partner for Panasonic because we really kind of provide our basic service. It's commercial off-the-shelf service we provide around the world. But what they were able to do is take that service and then connect it through their network in such a way that it was secure, and they essentially are the provider to the U.S. government.
Okay.
So the parts that are really difficult, I think, are really unique, meet the requirements of the U.S. government. Well, that's great. You've got a great supplier in
Sure.
Boeing that can do that, and they do this today. And what we really provide to the relationship is global coverage, low price, which is a new thing for the U.S. government, to actually have something provided that's as competitive as what they can get from commercially,
Right.
and great equipment, great reliability, and fits on just about any Boeing aircraft, in fact, that does today. So that's why it was a really good relationship there. They could offer these set of services to the U.S. government, and really not something Panasonic was well suited for. We don't have that expertise, but you get the marriage. When something works is when one party has 50%, another party has 50% of kind of unique skills, and then it fit very well together to be able to offer this to the U.S. government. And then there's other governments across the world, many that are allies of the United States, that need similar capability, and Boeing provides some of this today, and then they can utilize that same network, because we, again, are the only ones offering broadband service everywhere in the world today. So good marriage of skills, and as procurements start to pick back up in the United States for this, we hope to see some really good success.
This is another good point, because I can understand the kind of the global reach that's really required, and especially if I look at NATO and the United States and their synergy, not only with airborne platforms, but space and so forth. I'm going to kind of, I was rather curious when I was looking through your great company and things that you've achieved in your division. Can you talk a little bit about the satellites you're using for the in-flight mobile systems?
So we, it's interesting today because we buy capacity from almost every satellite operator in the world.
Okay.
Initially had to build out a fabric of KU satellites that would stretch all around the world, and in some cases overlap each other, so that we could make sure we had full coverage, but also build up capacity in high density areas, which is where airports are. You need more capacity, airplanes coming and going. And then as the years have gone on, we have purchased more and more and more capacity. So we're now a pretty large buyer of capacity. But we saw the growth taking place about 4 years ago, and we signed a very strategic agreement with Intelsat for their very first Epic satellite, and the first of the HTS type of satellites. We were an anchor customer for that satellite. Within just a couple of months, we signed the next major agreement with Intelsat for Intelsat 33, which covers all of Europe to Asia. But in the last, if we followed that with a very big agreement with Eutelsat that covered all the Pacific Ocean. So that gave us a second layer of coverage, about 6 to 10 times more capacity than we currently operated in our network, and a lot of room to grow. But as the plan had it, these services, which are just now starting service in April, we already know we will outgrow them, and we are right now procuring the next set of capacity that will overlay those particular satellites. And so we're generating a lot of satellite business right now. That there are a lot of happy people downstairs who are saying, "Ooh, I get to build some new satellites."
Right.
And we work with the satellite operators. They are our friends, our helpers, our advisors, and yes, they make some good money off this as well. Even though we're getting larger, even starting to procure custom payloads, they work with us, they advise us. They have excellent skills and experience negotiating purchase agreements with satellite manufacturers, launch providers, the insurance that goes along with this. So we really use them as our advisors, and then they will fly the satellite for us when it goes into service. So I think there's a good marriage here again of skills, and as we're getting larger and larger, that we've got smart people to advise us.
Well, you know, one of the things that we all know about is, you know, especially if we look at the Apple case and so forth, you know, the issue of you know, cybersecurity, and especially with, you know, mobility platforms. I mean, is that something that kind of, if somebody's on an airplane and they're traveling at 35,000 feet, I mean, is there a security issue they should be concerned with if they're accessing your network?
No, I think other than it's the same, you should look after yourself the same way you would on any public hotspot.
That's true.
If it's an open hotspot, if you're not encrypting your signal, like with a virtual private network, you have the possibility of someone snooping and intercepting your communications, and that's bad behavior. So we recommend everybody use a VPN, but we take extra measures ourselves to isolate. We can tell if someone is trying to do certain bad behaviors on board. It's still a public hotspot, but we can shut down certain things to keep them from causing more trouble.
Sure.
We also, I think a lot of people are concerned, oh my gosh, they hear these crazy reports that, oh, someone took control of the airport, of the airplane. And our systems are separated from anything related to the flight management systems by hard separation. There's nothing, there's no communication. You can plug into your seat and talk to the pilot or anything. But that's by design, a hard design, and the Boeings and the Airbus of the world, they are very much involved in these discussions and make sure that you're safe using your laptop on board. I think one of the other areas people have been concerned, because I always used to tell you, turn off your laptops and everything, you know,
I'm glad you're bringing this up,
And one of the things we did to really advance this business, and we Panasonic did this, is we tested, not necessarily our equipment, we tested the avionics on every aircraft type in the world, every combination of avionics, to prove that you could bombard these set of electronics with the same power or maximum power and in all the frequency ranges, and you're not going to interfere with the avionics that guide and control these airplanes. And the FAA, the EASA, the European agency, they knew this, but it was a lot better to have a mound of data across every configuration that absolutely shows there is no interference that's going to affect the aircraft. And then, so now when you come on board and we're concerned, oh, you're using your smartphone or whatever, everyone can have comfort. I'm not affecting the flight of the aircraft. I can use this safely. So I think we've come a long way in actually a very short period of time, based on a lot of hard work. My poor guy's out in the middle of the night, you know, testing with all the different equipment on board the aircraft, but it's given the entire industry comfort that now you can move forward, and you saw the change in regulations last year. That's changed behavior on board airplanes, and now people feel like they can use. And this is really important to even the underlying economics of the business of providing communication service on airplanes, because we don't want passengers to feel inhibited to being able to use their devices on board. And after so many years, we were trained, oh, isn't this bad? Now you know it's safe. We've checked it all, and security, there's kind of safety and then there's security. And the security aspect is the same as it is on the ground. Take care of yourself, but then trust that we're going to look after the bad guys that want to cause trouble there, that we can control them as much as we can, and they won't interrupt, they definitely won't affect the aircraft.
Okay, well, you know, you've given us a lot of, actually some very hot news items today, and I really appreciate that. So perhaps we can kind of wrap it up, if you will, and do you have any other comments you'd like to provide our subscribers?
Well, I think this is an exciting business. It's one most of us can identify with. We fly. And, you know, one of the things I would leave you with is it was not our objective when we started out, but when we realized when you get this powerful network, one of my personal peeves was that I fly all the time. I fly times when I don't want to fly, when major news events are taking place and major sporting events are taking place. And you don't know what's going on, and you miss the Super Bowl. So one of the things we've done is we now supply the world's only aeronautical television network. We have 8 channels that go around the world. You can take an aircraft and fly around the world and never miss a beat on major news, and one particular channel that is a sports channel program just for us, that's a 24-hour linear channel. It's always live. And we did the World Cup, we do the Olympics, we did the Super Bowl twice now, all the major sporting events, all the major tennis Grand Slam matches, the golf. So now when you're on board and you think, oh, I've got to travel when this is going on, we have you live television there. And it was a function of being able to utilize our own broadband network, and we can now very efficiently do this and provide this great service to the airlines where they never were able to provide these events live on board the cabin. We had an event in the finals of the World Cup 2 years ago. And on that particular moment when the World Cup was playing and Germany was playing, on all of the Lufthansa aircraft, virtually 100% of all of the in-flight displays were tuned to watch the World Cup because Germany was there in London.
Wow.
So pretty exciting stuff.
That's very exciting. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time, David. It's been really a joy, and I hope I get a chance to see you. I was going to ask one final question. I don't know if you want to answer it, but you mentioned you work for an airline. You want to say the name of it? Or?
American Airlines.
This
is
all right.
many years ago.
Okay, that's good enough. You have the experience and I think the
They trained me
credibility.
well.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
I appreciate it.